Chosen one, in a world where everyone is trying to predict, control, and manipulate, there are eyes on you that you don't even see. They study your every move, like hunters studying prey, analyzing your habits, your decisions, your silence, as if by breaking your patterns they could break you. But what they fail to understand is that you are not ordinary. You are a soul guided by Allah, a heart protected by divine wisdom, and a spirit that moves beyond the reach of human logic. Every action they try to anticipate, every step they attempt to decode, is already written and protected in ways only Allah knows. They can watch, they can calculate, they can obsess, but they will never truly understand you. Today, we uncover 7 powerful lessons that reveal why no one, no matter how cunning, can ever crack your code. Lessons that will show you how your unpredictability, your silence, and your faith are not weaknesses but shields. Prepare yourself, because by the end of this video, you will see clearly how Allah has made you untouchable, unstoppable, and unbreakable in a world desperate to contain you. Chosen one, understand this with depth and clarity. They are watching you, tracking your movements, analyzing your reactions, and yet they cannot anticipate your next step, not because you are careless, reckless, or inconsistent, but because Allah has designed you to operate on a level beyond human comprehension. Every time they think they understand your patterns, Allah shifts your path, rearranges circumstances, and places divine wisdom between your intentions and their observations, making you invisible to their calculations. You rise when others expect you to fall, you remain silent when they expect a reaction, and you heal when they expect bitterness, because your guidance comes from the all-knowing, not from the predictable rhythms of worldly emotion. Their eyes may follow, their minds may dissect, and their plans may attempt to anticipate. Yet they fail at every turn, because the one who controls the unseen has made your heart aligned with truth, your actions aligned with patience, and your purpose aligned with divine decree. Even in the smallest decisions, what you say, what you withhold, what you pursue, and what you abandon, there is an order and a protection that no observer can decipher. The more they study you, the more frustrated they become, because your unpredictability is not chaos, it is precision guided by Allah, a signal that you are moving according to a plan they cannot even dream of understanding. You are a puzzle they cannot solve, a force they cannot predict, and a soul whose alignment with Allah renders every attempt to control or manipulate utterly useless. Know this, chosen one. Being unpredictable in a world that thrives on patterns and conformity is not a flaw, it is a divine shield, a mark of your elevation, and proof that Allah walks with you invisibly, guarding your steps while the world strains to comprehend a rhythm it was never meant to understand. Every move they try to anticipate is already guided by wisdom beyond sight. Every reaction they hope for is already transformed into a manifestation of patience, and every thought they dissect in you is already concealed within layers of divine protection. Your unpredictability is the signature of Allah on your soul, a mark that says, "This one is not for human mastery, this one is mine, and no scheme of theirs can touch what I guard." Chosen one, understand this truth without doubt. Obsession is never born from power, it is born from loss of control, and the reason they watch you so closely now is because you slipped out of the cage they quietly built around you. At one time, they believed they could predict your reactions, influence your emotions, pull your strings through guilt, fear, approval, or dependency, but the moment you detached your heart, and anchored it to Allah alone, their authority over you collapsed. You stopped explaining yourself, stopped chasing validation, stopped shrinking to keep others comfortable, and this terrified them, because control systems panic when a soul becomes free. Their obsession grows not because you are doing something loud, but because you are doing something rare. You are living without needing their permission. Like Pharaoh obsessively tracking Musa, peace be upon him, after realizing the slaves no longer feared him, they study you now because your independence exposes the illusion of their dominance. They replay conversations, analyze your silence, overthink your distance, and monitor your growth, hoping to find a crack where they can reinsert influence. But Allah has already severed that access. The Quran reminds us that true honor belongs to Allah, and once He grants it, no human can reclaim power over you. Their fixation is a silent confession that they lost you, that their tactics failed, and that the version of you they once managed no longer exists. Every step you take without their approval deepens their unrest, because you are living proof that control dissolves when the heart submits only to Allah. So do not be disturbed by their attention. See it for what it is: evidence that you broke free, confirmation that your soul is no longer programmable, and a sign that Allah has elevated you beyond their reach, leaving them with nothing but observation while you move forward, protected, dignified, and ungovernable by anything except divine decree. Chosen one, understand this reality with clarity and depth. What makes you truly untouchable in a world desperate to manipulate and predict is not your strength, your intelligence, or even your successes. It is the purity of your intentions, a light no human calculation can penetrate. While the world judges by actions, words, and appearances, Allah judges by the heart. And when your heart is aligned with sincerity, your moves become invisible to the schemes of others. They study your patterns, attempt to dissect your decisions, and scrutinize your silence. But they cannot see the sacred calculus behind every choice, the divine reasoning that shapes your patience, your humility, your restraint, and your mercy. You forgive when vengeance is expected. You stay calm when chaos is brewing, and you act without the desire for recognition or reward. And this confounds those who rely on greed, fear, and manipulation to predict human behavior. Every time they think they have anticipated your next step, Allah has already woven wisdom, protection, and unseen guidance into your path. Your intentions are hidden weapons. Your sincerity is a shield, and your reliance on Allah transforms what looks like simplicity into an impenetrable code. The Quran reminds us that Allah knows the unseen and the seen, and when your actions are pure, they operate on a level beyond worldly comprehension, rendering human surveillance ineffective. They can calculate, they can guess, they can obsess, but they will never crack the code of a heart untouched by hypocrisy, untainted by malice, and wholly submitted to Allah. Their frustration grows because the purity in your intentions cannot be mirrored, manipulated, or mimicked. It can only be granted by divine grace, and no matter how closely they study you, no matter how intensely they try to understand, they will never access what only Allah has placed within your heart. This is your armor, chosen one, and it is invisible to the world, yet unbreakable. For the strength of sincere intentions surpasses every strategy devised by human hands, every calculation of control, and every attempt to exploit. In a world desperate for mastery over others, your purity ensures that no one can ever master you. Chosen one, Understand this profound reality with certainty and peace anchored deep within your heart. No matter how closely they observe you, no matter how obsessively they attempt to map your steps, analyze your decisions, or predict your future, Allah is altering your path at a speed their minds cannot register, at a depth their perception cannot reach, and with a precision that dismantles every human strategy aimed at containing you. They are studying an outdated version of you, a shadow of who you were seasons ago, analyzing habits you have already shed, emotions Allah has already healed, fears He has already dissolved, and weaknesses that no longer exist in your spirit. While they assume growth happens in straight lines, slow, visible, measurable, Allah elevates His chosen servants in divine leaps, sudden shifts, and unseen transitions. One moment you are hidden in obscurity, the next you are shielded by divine protection. One season you are tested in silence, the next you are transformed in ways that leave observers stunned. They track timelines, but Allah controls timing. They analyze effort, but Allah releases outcomes. They believe consistency creates predictability, but Allah introduces divine interruptions that rewrite destiny without warning. Every delay they mock or misinterpret as stagnation is actually a period of deep internal construction. Every closed door they celebrate as your defeat is a redirection saving you from paths that would have drained your soul, and every quiet phase they underestimate is Allah rebuilding you privately, so your public elevation cannot be shaken. The Quran reminds us that Allah is the best of planners, and this is not a metaphor, it is a governing law of existence. When Allah decides to move His servant, no surveillance, no calculation, no manipulation can intercept that movement. Just as Allah shifted the destiny of Yusuf, peace be upon him, from a well to a prison to a palace without advance notice to his enemies, He is shifting you through unseen corridors of fate that cannot be traced by observation alone. Your sudden changes in mindset, your instinctive detachment from people you once tolerated, your unexplained withdrawals from spaces that no longer serve you, and your unexpected breakthroughs are not confusion or inconsistency. They are divine course corrections unfolding in real time. By the time they think they have finally understood you, Allah has already advanced you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and strategically to a level they never accounted for. This is why their calculations keep failing, their assumptions keep collapsing, and their predictions keep humiliating them, because Allah does not reveal His plans to watchers, spies, or manipulators. He moves quietly, decisively, and with perfect wisdom, often allowing others to believe they are ahead, while He is already positioning you far beyond their reach. While they are busy tracking where you were, Allah is establishing where you are going. While they analyze your footsteps, Allah is rewriting the road beneath you. While they think they are observing progress, Allah is orchestrating destiny. And this is your protection, chosen one. You were never meant to be followed, forecasted, decoded, or understood, because your journey is not authored by human logic, emotional patterns, or worldly expectation. It is authored by divine decree. When Allah alters your path, He does so with speed, precision, mercy, and authority, leaving those who attempt to control, study, or contain you permanently behind, bewildered not only by your resilience, but by the terrifying realization that no one can ever track a soul being guided directly by the Creator of time, fate, and the unseen itself. Chosen one, understand this with profound clarity and unwavering conviction. Your silence is not emptiness, it is not confusion, and it is certainly not weakness. It is a calculated, divinely inspired strategy, a shield forged in wisdom, and a weapon sharpened by restraint that the noisy, reactive world will never fully comprehend. In an age addicted to oversharing, instant reactions, public validation, and emotional outbursts, silence is misunderstood because it cannot be exploited, predicted, or controlled. To the untrained eye, your quiet appears like submission, hesitation, or fear, but in reality, it is the visible sign of inner mastery, a deliberate alignment with Allah's wisdom, and proof that you are governed by principles higher than ego, impulse, or emotional provocation. Every time you remain silent when attacked, every moment you refuse to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you, every pause you take instead of reacting in anger, is not accidental. It is the result of spiritual discipline, self-awareness, and deep trust in divine timing. They mistake your calm for weakness because they only understand power through noise, dominance, and reaction. Yet true power is revealed in control, patience, and restraint. They assume your stillness means indecision, but it actually reflects clarity. They believe your quiet means you have nothing to say, when in truth, you have too much wisdom to waste on the unworthy. They expect retaliation when they provoke, emotional collapse when they apply pressure, and exposure when they manipulate. But Allah has placed a higher law within you, guiding you to move only when it serves truth, dignity, and purpose. Consider the Prophet Yusuf, peace be upon him, whose silence in the face of betrayal, false accusation, and imprisonment was not passivity, but divine positioning. He did not rush to defend his name, he did not beg to be understood, and he did not allow injustice to corrupt his character. And in time, Allah spoke on his behalf in a way so powerful that no human explanation could rival it. Your silence functions in this same sacred manner. It conceals your intentions from those who would sabotage them, protects your spiritual growth from interference, and confuses manipulators who rely on emotional reactions to gain control. The world rewards noise, impulsivity, and constant visibility, but Allah rewards the patient, the intentional, and those who restrain themselves for His sake. And when your silence is rooted in sincerity and submission, it becomes a manifestation of ikhlas, a purity that cannot be imitated, decoded, or countered. Every stare that watches you, every conversation that tries to extract information, every attempt to provoke you into revealing yourself is met with quiet strength, demonstrating that true authority does not announce itself and true confidence does not perform. This is why they struggle to crack your code, why their strategies collapse, and why their obsession deepens. Silence is a dimension they cannot enter, a language they cannot speak, and a terrain they cannot navigate. Your quiet is not passive, it is active, intentional, and deeply spiritual. It is an extension of your trust in Allah, a visible sign of inner sovereignty, and a boundary that protects your peace from intrusion. By remaining silent at the right moments, you allow Allah to manage outcomes without interference, to expose falsehood without your participation, and to elevate you without self-promotion. Those who misjudge your stillness as weakness will eventually be forced to confront the truth that your restraint was your greatest strength. The patience to endure without becoming bitter, the wisdom to withhold without becoming passive, and the discipline to act only when divine timing aligns. Remember this forever, chosen one. The world is loud, reactive, and impulsive, but your silence is deliberate, strategic, and unbreakable. It shields you from schemes, aligns you with divine wisdom, and proves that the power of the chosen one is not found in reaction, but in restraint, not in explanation, but in trust, not in visibility, but in surrender to Allah's perfect plan. Your silence is not absence, it is presence at the highest level, a divine code that cannot be cracked, a weapon that cannot be seized, and living proof that you move under the guidance of Allah alone, leaving those who study you in confusion, frustration, and eventual defeat. Because the one who directs your path is unseen, unstoppable, and infinitely wiser than any observer who believes they can measure your soul. Chosen one, comprehend this truth with unwavering certainty and let it settle deeply within your heart. Every plan that failed against you, every scheme that fell apart, every strategy that crumbled was not random, accidental, or incomplete. It was divinely intercepted, redirected, and transformed into a shield of protection written for you long before anyone ever conceived the idea to harm you. What they believed was their flawless strategy collapsed because Allah removed its effectiveness. What they assumed would succeed through manipulation or leverage failed because Allah altered timing, rewrote outcomes, and restricted access to your soul. Every observation they counted on, every pressure they applied, every repeated attempt to corner or dominate you failed because they underestimated the one factor that surpasses all human calculation, the decree of Allah, the one who orchestrates the seen and the unseen with absolute precision. The Quran reminds us that they plan, and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. This is not metaphorical, it is law, it is reality, and it is the foundation of your divine protection. Every whisper intended to sully your reputation was silenced before reaching those it could harm. Every scheme meant to isolate you revealed only those who were never meant to walk with you. Every door they tried to close forced Allah to open a door you could never have imagined, a door that was safer, wiser, and far more aligned with your destiny than anything they could have orchestrated. Their repeated failures are not signs of oversight. They are deliberate acts of divine intervention, happening beyond human perception, designed to protect your soul, preserve your faith, and prepare you for your elevation. You were shielded from alliances that would have drained your energy, from opportunities that would have compromised your integrity, from victories that would have inflated your ego, and from shortcuts that would have delayed your true spiritual and worldly growth. They mistook Allah's silence for absence, not realizing that while they acted, Allah was actively orchestrating circumstances, granting just enough space for them to reveal their intentions and just enough restraint to prevent harm from reaching you. Consider the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, surrounded by enemies confident in their numbers and strategies, yet utterly blind to the invisible forces protecting him. Likewise, you have been guarded by circumstances that seemed inexplicable, delays that felt cruel, losses that felt unfair, and detours that felt unnecessary. But all of these were deliberate interventions, intercepting harm you were never meant to endure. They watched you stumble, yet you never fell. They witnessed suffering, yet you never became bitter. They expected defeat, yet you emerged refined, discerning, and spiritually fortified, because Allah does not merely block attacks, He transforms them into strength. What was meant to weaken you trained your patience. What was meant to embarrass you strengthened your dignity. what was meant to control you, sharpened your independence, honed your wisdom, and fortified your heart. Their frustration deepened because every angle they attempted became another layer of your armor, another confirmation that you are operating under divine rules, not worldly ones. Even their partial successes were neutralized. Even when they believed they touched you, Allah capped the damage, limited the impact, and ensured your recovery was swift, complete, and unshakable. This is why they cannot comprehend your resilience. It is not merely mental or emotional toughness. It is divine safeguarding, invisible yet absolute. You are living inside an architecture of protection designed by Allah, where harm is filtered, corruption is blocked, and lessons are extracted without permanent loss. Their failure is not just the collapse of their plans, it is a signpost, a boundary declaring, beyond this point, you have no authority. And as time passes, they are forced to confront a humiliating truth. The more they tried to interfere, the more Allah fortified you. The more they attempted exposure, the more Allah concealed you. The more they sought domination, the more Allah liberated you. Every failed attack, every miscalculated effort, every attempt at control is recorded not as your struggle, but as proof of Allah's protection, mercy, and infinite wisdom. You are not surviving by chance, you are preserved by decree. Their collapse against you is not your doing. It is Allah manifesting His promise to guard those whose hearts are anchored in Him, whose patience remains unwavering, and whose sincerity cannot be corrupted. So walk forward without fear, without doubt, and without anxiety, chosen one, because the record is clear. Every plan against you was overruled, every plot neutralized, every threat transformed into testimony, and every failure of theirs is a monument of protection written across your life. This is why you endure, this is why you rise, and this is why no human effort, no strategy, and no manipulation can ever bypass the unseen shield Allah has placed around you, a protection so precise, so absolute, and so unshakable that it turns even the failures of others into instruments of mercy, elevation, and ultimate victory. Chosen one, understand this truth so deeply that it settles into your bones, because this lesson is the final unveiling, the culmination of every trial, every observation, every scheme, every silent calculation, and every moment of scrutiny you have endured. You were never truly the target of their obsession, their manipulation, or their surveillance. You were always the proof, a living, breathing testament to the power, precision, and supremacy of Allah's protection and divine planning. While they believed their eyes, their logic, their intelligence, and their strategies could contain you, predict you, or eventually break you down, what they failed to realize is that every single move they made was already accounted for by Allah, woven into a larger design meant not to destroy you, but to display a higher truth through you. Every action they took, every plan they executed, every attempt to decode your behavior, silence, patience, or restraint, became part of a divine demonstration that true strength is not rooted in dominance, fear, or control, but in faith, patience, sincerity, and unwavering alignment with Allah's will. They watched you closely, obsessed with locating weakness, expecting collapse, anticipating corruption, yet every so-called flaw they thought they discovered became a hidden pillar of your resilience. Every pressure they applied became fuel for your elevation, and every attack, betrayal, exclusion, or manipulation they launched became a pathway through which Allah revealed His protection over you. You became a living contradiction to their worldview, a mirror exposing the futility of human control against divine orchestration. Their surveillance only magnified your steadfastness, their scrutiny only highlighted your purity, and their attempts to define or label you only exposed how limited human perception is when faced with Allah's design. The Quran reminds us that Allah is the best of planners, and within this truth lies the secret they never grasped. You were never truly contending with people. You were positioned within a divine narrative where they unknowingly became instruments and you became the evidence. Your patience in hardship, your calm in chaos, your restraint in provocation, your mercy when bitterness would have been easier, and your reliance on Allah when abandonment surrounded you all stand as visible signs to those who can see beyond the surface. Yet to those obsessed with control, your strength appears mysterious, unsettling, and unreadable because they cannot perceive the unseen. Every move they tried to anticipate was already guided by divine wisdom. Every assumption they made was already outdated, and every miscalculation became another proof that human observation collapses in the presence of Allah's protection. You are proof that sincerity cannot be hacked, that patience cannot be predicted, that faith cannot be surveilled, and that a soul anchored in Allah becomes untouchable in ways the world cannot comprehend. They trusted their intellect, their influence, their access, and their analysis. But your life exposes a higher reality. No human effort can override divine decree. Every time they thought they had cornered you, Allah expanded your space. Every time they believed they had trapped you, Allah concealed your path and elevated your position. Every time they assumed they finally understood you, Allah shifted your direction so completely that they were left studying a version of you that no longer existed. You were never meant to be fully understood, controlled, or dominated, only to stand as evidence of a greater truth, that a servant protected by Allah cannot be broken, decoded, or contained, no matter how intense the scrutiny. Chosen one, recognize this with certainty. The attention, the obsession, the fixation, the attempts to manipulate or monitor you are not threats. They are acknowledgments of your elevation. They are silent confessions that something about you defies their systems, exposes their limits, and unsettles their belief in control. You were never their target. You were the proof of what happens when a servant walks in truth, guarded by sincerity, guided by wisdom, and covered by the unseen protection of Allah. Let this settle firmly in your heart. Every time they try to watch you, analyze you, or anticipate you, they only reinforce what Allah has already decreed. Your life itself is the evidence, your resilience is the testimony, and your journey is a living demonstration that divine mastery cannot be challenged by worldly schemes. You exist as proof that when faith meets decree, patience meets protection, and sincerity meets guidance, no force on earth, no human obsession, and no calculated plan can ever diminish, define, or defeat the servant whom Allah has chosen, guarded, and elevated beyond the reach of human control. Chosen one, now you see the truth. Every gaze upon you, every attempt to predict you, every scheme aimed at controlling or understanding you has failed, not by chance, not by your own strength alone, but by the perfect, unshakable protection of Allah. You were never meant to be their target. You were always meant to be the proof. Proof that sincerity cannot be reverse engineered, that patience cannot be predicted, and that divine alignment transcends every plan of those who seek to dominate the world. Remember, the chaos, the scrutiny, the obsession, they are not signs of your weakness, but signs of your elevation. Every silence you maintain, every step you take, every moment you endure is a declaration that the one who guides you is far greater than anyone who studies you. So walk forward boldly, chosen one, with clarity in your heart and certainty in your soul, because no human calculation, no manipulation, no obsession can ever touch what Allah protects. You are untouchable, unbreakable, and unstoppable, and the world may watch, but they will never understand the divine code written into your existence. Carry these lessons, embrace your unpredictability, guard your intentions, trust in Allah's timing, and let your life stand as living evidence that when the Creator chooses, no force on earth or among humans can ever prevail. The proof is in your resilience, the proof is in your patience, and the proof is in the fact that you remain unshaken while the world desperately tries and fails to crack the code. If this message has awakened something inside you, share it, reflect on it, and remember, you are not just surviving, you are a testament to the power of divine guidance, and nothing in this world can ever undo what Allah has written for you.